Yeah, this one just didn't do a whole lot as far as I'm concerned. It was definitely the definition of a gimmick film. And it's a very strange way to end the 70s on, but hey, there's a new decade just around the corner. Is the experimentation going to continue, or is some mainstream stuff going to start coming back in? I'll see you in the next video. And we begin the 1980s with The Fly, a Hungarian short that basically just follows the point of view of a fly as it gets stuck in a house. Now, you're going to be noticing a lot of shorts like this decade. This is where Disney and Warner Brothers were basically completely out of the shorts game. You're just seeing independent animators making shorts like this. You won't be seeing Aardman and Pixar coming until around the 90s and stuff. So, yeah, the Fly is actually a pretty good indicator of what you're about to see. And as you can see on the screen, this is a technical marvel. It is very interesting to look at. I can only imagine how long it took to animate this thing with the level of detail. And it's a beautiful short. Is it about a whole lot? No, not really. But yeah, there you go. I mean, good for the director. He got himself an Oscar. And let's look at some of the other very weird shorts that started winning Oscars in the 1980s. Croc is the next winner. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, though, don't take that away from this. What I want you to take away is that this is simply a masterpiece. This short, oh my gosh, the feels that it gives you. So, if anyone ever saw any of those old Animaniacs cartoons where it would fall around like a candle or a discarded piece of paper or something like that, that's basically what Croc is, except on a much deeper and more profound scale, as it shows the creation of a rocking chair that basically goes to witness many years of people and their events and what they do and the times changing, and it's just a beautiful film. The animation is wonderful. It has many tear-jerking moments. There's even a lot of smiles. The animation, I mean, well, you can see the animation. It's just a great looking film, and I can definitely understand why this would win an Academy Award. Unlike The Fly, which was artistic but not exactly emotionally fulfilling, this is artistic and it gives the emotional powerhouse punches that you would hope a great animated short would provide. Our next winner is an animated Polish film called Tango, and this one, oh my, okay, this is awful. I'm sorry. Okay, first of all, I don't think this is very much of an animated film. It has mostly live action actors being imposed on like an animated set and doing a bunch of tasks, sometimes over and over and over again. And it goes on for an agonizing 8 minutes. And look, I'm not always familiar with what the alternative nominees are, especially when you start getting into the 70s and the 80s. But there had to have been a better winner than this. This is one of the few times where I'm like, just skip this one. This one's not worth it. If you're seeing what you're seeing right now, this is basically the whole thing for 8 minutes. Next, we have Sunday in New York, which is a short little claymation thing in which the main character talks the lyrics to New York, New York, while, well, hanging around New York. It's a cute little short. It's very enjoyable. I can definitely see the appeal of it. Although I will say it's kind of a strange winner because you know how I said that basically Disney and Warner Brothers was out of the game this decade? Well, there was one exception. Mickey's Christmas Carol was actually a nomination in this category this year, and it's really strange seeing the Sunday New York short why Mickey's Christmas Carol didn't win, which had a lot more substance to it, was a lot longer, had many classic characters, and was a return to form in the Disney Shorts category. So Sunday New York is cute. I'm just not really sure why it won the Oscar, but That being said, yeah, I smiled watching it, so I can't say too many bad things about it. The next one is Charade, and this is a really funny one. It's basically about a guy who is playing charades, and it doesn't matter what he does, the people looking at him can't figure out what it is he's trying to tell them. Meanwhile, the other guy comes along, does something really nonsensical briefly, and they can figure it out right away. And one of the reasons this is so funny still is that all of the stuff that the guy is trying to show them is iconic stuff that people today would still recognize. So, and apparently the guy's American, and that's why the British people aren't getting it. This one's just a lot of fun. It might not be deep, but you're going to laugh at this one. After that, the next short is Anna and Bella, and it's actually kind of interesting now that I think about it, how the 80s seems to be going between serious and fun, nonsensical to straightforward. But anyway, Anna and Bella follows two sisters who are looking over their photos of their past life and remembering their life up to that point. This one is equal parts beautiful, profound, and funny all at the same time. And once again, when you're looking at animation like this and you know that it's primarily the work of either one or just a few animators, it's all the more impressive that it looks as good as it does, and that Anna and Bella have very defined personalities despite not really saying anything. So this is definitely a great one in my opinion. A Greek tragedy, and boy is this short ever one of those. So here we go. We're back to the silly and the nonsensical. And this is the only short where you're not going to be seeing any clips because I honestly don't know if I can show it without getting demonetized. The whole joke of this 6 minute short is basically the female people who are, I guess they're goddesses or something, I don't know. They're holding up the architecture, but they're having a hard time keeping their modesty. Now, let's be fair, like the nudity in this short isn't exactly like scandalous or anything. I doubt anyone's going to be traumatized. This is just a precaution because of the YouTube guidelines. But overall, it's just fine. It's a little. No, I'm not even gonna go that far. It wasn't even a little funny. It was again, if it's one person who's animating it, which judging by the credits, it's not. It's a technical impressive thing, uh, but it's not super interesting. So I'm just this one didn't do anything for me. I'm sorry, folks. I wish I could say something more interesting about it, but it's just kind of there. And we're back to the serious again with The Man Who Planted Trees. And folks, this is a masterpiece. This is probably one of the greatest animated shorts I have ever seen. I cannot put into words how beautiful and touching and moving this short is. This is a short about a man who, with nothing else to live, decides to plant trees. And he does it just to help the earth. People benefit from what he does, and then they also lose out when their own greed and hubris take for granted what this old man did. There are two versions of this movie. There is a French version and an English version. In the French version, the story is narrated by actor Philippe Nolet. And if you're watching in English, it is narrated by Christopher Plummer. Obviously, whatever language you speak, that's the one I recommend. Even though I don't speak French, the French version sounded just as good as the English version. Both actors had very powerful, sympathetic, commanding voices. The short's not super short, it's actually about 30 minutes long, which probably makes it one of the longer shorts of this decade, maybe the longest, but it is worth every single minute. And hey, we're going back to funny again, and this time we have Tin Toy. And chances are you've seen this one because this is a Pixar short. Yep, Pixar won their first Oscar for Best Animated Short Film The short was directed by John Lasseter and Bill Reeves, and you've probably even seen the Tin Toy character in movies like Toy Story 4, and he makes cameos in other movies of theirs. And the story is pretty simple. This toy is being terrified by this very, very ugly looking baby. Like, okay, good God, I know that this is early. Computer animation hasn't quite caught up, but this is the scariest baby I have ever seen in anything. No wonder this toy does not want to play with this baby. That being said, despite the fact that the baby looks wildly off model these days, it's still a very funny short. You can see the seeds of Toy Story being planted in this short, and I would say seek it out, except chances are you've already seen it. And if you haven't seen it, this is by far the easiest and most accessible short on this entire list. Finishing off the decade, we have Balance, and yeah, we're kind of going back to serious again, although this is more bizarre than anything. And part of me wonders if that's because this isn't really the original short. So let me explain. This one confused me so much that I actually had to really look this up and find out what the heck was this short about. And apparently, this video was commissioned by the German group Alphaville as part of their Songlines project for their 1989 album, The Breathtaking Blue. And basically, it was a music video project where directors chose a track from the album and they put visuals to it. And these guys, Christoph and Wolfgang Lonstein, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, got the song Middle of the Riddle, which kind of makes sense when you look at the visuals of this. And, well, there's definitely a balancing act. Now, one of the directors said its visualization is not a literal illustration of the song, which would be impossible in any case, but compromises a complete autonomous story on its own. And that might be why when they submitted it for an Academy Award nomination, they used different music. It's because they didn't want it to be seen as a music video. Now, I have only seen the Oscar-winning version. I have not seen the version that came with the song. Now, I was tempted to watch that version to kind of compare it, but at the end of the day, that's not the version that won the Oscar. And I feel like I need to judge the short on its own merit. And it is certainly surrealist and very experimental. And, as a film critic, I can appreciate the animation. The animation is definitely very unique. I'm just not sure, though, if I enjoy it. It's kind of creepy. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not sure if watching it with the song would help. I suspect it would, but I haven't seen that version. So this is just kind of a strange way to end the decade. But hey, on the other hand, there was some great stuff that won the Oscar this decade, and I would be hard pressed to say this was bad, but the 90s were just around the corner, and if you thought everything was too weird, too experimental, too surreal, too avant-garde, if you will, well, I've got some good news because some mainstream winners were returning to the show in the 90s, and we will talk about that next month. Hey, you made it to the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Just a few more things. First of all, the names that you see on the screen, these are our Patreon and YouTube member supporters, and I thank each and every one of them. Their support helps me make exclusive videos for Patreon and YouTube members, as well as keep the channel running, and of course is just of huge kindness to me. Also, don't forget to check out the iCritic-led podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Deezer, whatever podcasting service you listen to, it is there. We definitely want to see you there. And hey, there's also other videos that you can check out. So, check out these other channels, these other videos, especially that one. I think that's a really good one.